Story 1, Joker and Harley Quinn. She has Stockholm Syndrome and battered wife syndrome, but idiotic people will be like, oh my goodness, we're just like Harley and the Joker. Yeah, super cute. Story 2, Genius Kids. I am so glad my daughter is within the expectation. I would hate for her to struggle to fit in and be seen as different and special. It's actually really hard to be a genius. I'm not talking from experience, though. I'm very average, laughing out loud. Story 3, Boys being victims of child molestation. I am both sick and tired of women molesting children and not being held accountable, and society thinking the victim got lucky. Story 4. Very specific, but those Tumblr posts that romanticize living in an apartment with a lot of cats while it's raining? Having a bunch of cats? No, they're not low maintenance and cheap. No, there's zero guarantee they're going to like you or the other cats. If your 6 cats all got sick with upper respiratory infections, your bank account is in trouble. Living in an apartment with a lot of cats? You clean their litter boxes daily unless they live outside. They leave so much fur. They will scratch up and knock down anything nice you have. I love my guys, but I wish I had thought a little more before adopting more than 2 because I didn't realize how costly they'd be. They're a commitment, people. Story 5, Drinking. It looks so glamorous in the movies. Fancy glasses or expensive wines add to the desire. Society and culture romanticize the idea that a beautiful drink adds brilliance to your life. It's all a ruse to sell you something. Story 6, Being a world-famous celebrity. Every word and action of yours is monitored and judged, and you will be surrounded by people trying to use you and get you into shady stuff. All the while, the masses show endless adoration for the persona you hold that's not the real you, but the one you or your agency created to continue to appeal to your fan base and keep your job. The celebrity industry has allowed some very good people to do very good things, but has eaten up and spat out most of the people that come near it. Story 7. As someone who had a bad childhood due to abusive parents and bullying at school, I hate those who romanticize it and say it builds character. I've post-traumatic stress disorder, shyness, no good friends, issues with relationships, and a lack of confidence at the workplace. This is not the character anyone wants. Give me a protected, normal childhood over this any day. Story 8, Neediness. People like to pretend that having a partner, friends, or family with whom you do everything is the best thing in the world. But honestly, everyone needs to learn to do things alone. If you don't learn to do things alone, you will end up in codependent relationships with everyone and then become miserable when those people have their own lives. Story 9. The grind mindset, when taken to the extreme, can be really hard to get out of and extremely detrimental to mental health. Sometimes it leads to people identifying with external goals too much. Story 10. Consumerism. Most people are buying tons of things they don't need or really even want just because everyone else has it. Don't get me started about Christmas. We quit exchanging gifts a long time ago. It is so much less stressful. Story 11, Traveling the World as a European. It's not fun to see the damage the West does all over the world, all the poverty, all the nasty politics, all the unfairness. It doesn't matter how many coral reefs you dive into, how many fancy hotels you stay in. Seeing so many homeless kids will break your heart, if you have one. Story 12. A Harley Quinn and Joker relationship used to be a common one. I'm gonna go with having sex on a beach. I've never tried it, but I've been to a beach, and I can't imagine what it would feel like to get that sand everywhere. Probably painful. Story 13. Old times, like when we watch movies depicting older centuries and ignore that medicine was precarious, that the streets smelled horribly because of the lack of sewage systems, or that babies died frequently from glass bottles, lead, and all kinds of harmful substances. But oh, the clothes are beautiful, so there's that. Story 14. People pursuing someone when they say no and are uninterested, but a popular plot line has them being won over at the end. Don't take no, keep pressing, they'll come around. You. Story 15. Don't get me wrong, I love classic cars. There's something about how they look, the simplicity in some of their designs, the weird quirks, even just how it feels to slot a shifter into gear where you can feel you're moving a solid piece of metal. That said, modern cars are better in about every quantifiable way. Overall, they are more powerful, more reliable, take surprisingly little maintenance, more efficient and safer. Old cars are amazing as a second car. Story 16, Mafias. They are not classy criminals with a code. They are criminals no different from biker gangs, also a little romanticized, or drug cartels. Story 17. Being much smarter than your academic level. It is hell when you know everything being said, but you have to sit through it because you cannot attend the exam otherwise. Story 18. Any disability. I have seen people actively search for partners who are disabled because they like the idea of their partner being completely dependent on them. Story 19. Sleeping in the same bed as your partner. Let's all face it, we all would always prefer to sleep by ourselves. We only do it because we think we are supposed to. It's weird. Story 20. Reuniting estranged families. Usual tropes, they love you really, but she is your mother. Irrelevant. Bad people are bad people, and just because they are family does not mean you have to have them in your life. Story 21. Genuinely being in love with a narcissist. I've literally seen it mostly from girls my age, 14 to 16. As someone medically diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, I have enough awareness of myself and other narcissists to say it's never ever going to be what you daydream. Not to demonize us, but we can cause harm a lot of the time. Story 22. Traveling for work. You'll be going to inconvenient and awkward places you don't want to go, on a very limited budget. Your decidedly mediocre hotel is also probably a long way from where you need to be and doesn't include anything like breakfast. Story 23. Europe. It's run down and filthy, at least Paris and Rome. Paris smells like raw sewage, and all the buildings have graffiti. In Rome, there is random grime dripping from them. In both cities, it's just dirty. Story 24. Autism. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, borderline personality disorder, depression, etc. Most people see the label and think, oh, fidgeting. I'm neurodivergent. School is hard, and I can't pay attention. I literally have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I want a partner with a touch of autism. I have borderline personality disorder because I get extremely jealous when my partner is around another person. Guys, who's bedridden today? Then, when they experience an autistic person's unmasked behavior, a person with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder's excessive forgetfulness, someone with borderline personality disorder going through an episode, or people with depression always being pessimistic or not doing simple hygienic tasks, all just examples, they get disgusted, annoyed, and weirded out. This is what I've typically seen mainly in Generation Z and newer generations, which all seem like exaggerated examples, but I've seen them all. Story 25. Living in nature and off the grid is not really practical to make all your own clothes, food, furniture, etc. Not to mention no indoor plumbing and electricity. Story 26. Someone being rude but then finding you attractive, so they grudgingly consent to like you. In real life, people with no self-awareness or empathy make terrible partners. Story 27. Showing up unannounced. If you come to my house without telling me first, expecting my full undivided attention or a sudden decision to spend the day with you, I will immediately end it. Story 28. Bullying a friend using the excuse of being best friends. Like those memes that say when you fall over, friends help you up, and best friends laugh at you. Best friends should be loving, kind, empathetic, and not cruel. Banter is one thing. My best friend and I do that all the time. But I know she'd never laugh at me if I fell over. She'd help me up and walk me to the nurse's office. Romanticizing the thought of her or any best friends not doing that and just laughing at me is gross. We can joke about it later, sure, but not in the moment. Story 29. Loneliness. People talk a lot about solitude and so on, and it's a really positive thing, but on social media, they talk about it so much that they end up focusing on loneliness, and so we have a lot of lonely and unhappy people bothering us everywhere because they're bitter and alone. Story 30. Bringing flowers to a dinner party. When I have 7 dishes worth of stuff to worry about, the last thing I need is to go running around looking for a pitcher and scissors. Story 31. Being famous. I know from the outside it looks like you have thousands, if not millions, of friends, but really it's like you have that many people who think they know you and don't. This compounds the problem of making real friends and connections with people. It's an odd lifestyle to have, and if you want out of it, people think you failed. Story 32. A jealous and possessive boyfriend or husband. It's cute at first and like, oh, he must really love me. Well, it gets old and not so cute very quickly. Story 33. Cheating for their soulmate. In movies and often in real life, people will be in a relationship when they find the one who gets them. It doesn't matter how terrible the current partner is. That's literally cheating either way. Story 34. In some romantic movies, usually the man fights for the uninterested woman, usually a woman, but I have had men who didn't give up. They were stalkers. I hated it. I didn't see the light, change my mind, and fall in love because I wasn't interested, no matter how much they forced it. And they are forcing it. She said no. He won't stop. It's stalking. Nothing is worse than someone who won't stop. I think it promotes the idea that if you ignore her, usually her, but it goes both ways, though these movies usually feature her boundaries, she will give up and love you. In real life, a lot of people get angry and get a restraining order. I read something about romantic movies and stalking somewhere not too long ago. The movies are fun. I admit I like some of them, but some people don't realize it's only a movie and maybe should just stay in the movies. Story 35. Russian Men. It started with country humans, and then it came with assumptions about their behavior or beliefs. Not every Russian is angry, misspoken, and can only talk to you romantically when they're drunk. If Russian people want to date you, they're mostly talkative and sweet, but they're mostly looking forward to being with you long-term, with dating leading to eventual marriage. Romantic gestures are not dead when you date a Russian man, but at the same time, you don't have to beat around the bush about your decisions. They're very direct in their feelings and have a habit of being cold in their delivery. It's not because they're mad at you or anyone. That's just how they talk. Story 36. There's a weird romance in media around stalking. A lot of romance media depict a guy or girl creeping on their love interest before actually talking to them. Story 37. Moving cities. So many Hollywood movies show people packing up and moving states with a small car or maybe a U-Haul trailer or van. It's not that simple and easy to pack up and move interstate. Story 38. Jealousy. People think it's cute or protective. In my humble opinion, it's a red flag for very deep-rooted insecurities that haven't been addressed or worked through. Story 39. Student-teacher relationships are genuinely so disgusting. When I was in middle and even high school, I dreamt of being in one because of shows like Pretty Little Liars and the glamorization of daddy issues. Story 40. Romantic love was invented about 500 years ago. Before that, people recognized that it's really just lust and infatuation and not something to try to build a relationship on. Story 41. Be in love with any kind of artist. The spark that makes them so intriguing and drives them to create the things we love is generally mental illness. Story 42. You have to love yourself before anybody else can love you is some of the most toxic garbage. I'm so tired of hearing it. Sometimes, especially if you have a history of being abused, it's really hard to love yourself. Like, you just don't know how. People have to show you the way. Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately up to you to do the deep inner work, but other people can be the lighthouse you need to get there. People don't heal in isolation through individualism. I don't believe in love because of a self-help book, a podcast, some Instagram influencer guru. I believe in love because my friends chose me to be part of their family. My grandmother made sure I had food and help with my homework when my single mom worked nights. My husband didn't leave when I was in the trenches of mental illness, because animals and total strangers have shown me kindness and care when I felt ugly and unlovable, and because of how the beauty found in the natural world is made from the same stardust as me. Story 43. Long-distance hiking. I see social media posts showing lovely young women with clean brushed hair flowing in the wind and fashionable makeup. The reality is it's a combination of running a marathon every day for months on end, scavenging dumpsters for food scraps, drinking water out of puddles, and smelling like a bus stop toilet. Don't get me wrong, it's one of the most memorable activities one can ever do, but definitely highly romanticized. Story 44. The whole, I can fix them idea. Stop it unless they want help. There is nothing you can do and you'll most likely make things worse. Not only for them but also for you. In some cases, the best thing you can do is walk away. Story 45. Stalking, lack of consent, domestic abuse. necrophilia, self-harm, pedophilia, held against one's will or kidnapping. But I can fix person. Person had a sad day once, so it's okay that person did or does super illegal things to me and others. Stockholm Syndrome, child marriage. I could go on. Story 46. Domestic violence. Twitter is full of, I don't want him if he isn't stalking me, or he's going to knock my head in between the washer and dryer jokes. This isn't funny. People die because their spouse loses control. Story 47. If he doesn't chase me like Kanye chases Kim, I don't want him. You say that until your ex is actually threatening you constantly. You say that until your ex is publicly saying he's going to jump your new partner. You say that until your ex posts horrible things about you on social media, then love bombs you. Story 48. Being a writer or a photographer. People love to say they have thought about doing it as a side hustle or when they retire or something. Neither is as easy, fun, or lucrative as they are often portrayed. Story 49. Camping. Not bathing regularly, camp toilets, sleeping on the ground, sleeping bag or air mattress, don't care. Morning breath without plentiful toothbrushing water, neck kinks, back kinks, bears, mosquitoes, drunken people at the next campsite, no thanks.